Today's guest is the national makeup artist and educator for Lise Watier at Groupe Marcelle. We've got Janet Entwistle. Thank you so much, Janet, for joining me today.
Hi, Dawn. Thank you so much for letting me be a part of this experience today with you.
And really, we are talking about the experience of live selling, which really is in that live commerce, social selling, social commerce, and even video commerce. So I want to break down your experience in that world because as a national makeup artist and of course educator for Lise Watier, one would assume that you are not shy. So you started off with a little bit of an advantage when it came to representing Lise Watier on TSC and TV home shopping in Canada.
Yes, so before I started the live selling, my background was to train on products for Watier. That's what a trainer does. That's what a national artist does. And it was only the next step to take it to live selling where you're bringing the product knowledge of the product, but it's a little bit different with the live selling because you have to do it in an environment that is time sensitive and you need to like get all of your points in the right amount of time and, hit the nail on the head and show demo products. And all of that makes it a little bit more of an expertise required for that, level of skill set.
And in particular, as I always say with products that you cannot touch, taste, or try on, historically, to experience Wattier to really be motivated to buy, one might have walked into, for example, a Shoppers Drug Mart or another retailer to be able to see what that lipstick might look like on their skin or to feel the texture of a cream. So, with Watche being such an established, iconic brand here in Canada in particular, that must have been that whole communication through the screen in TV home shopping. And ultimately, what I foresee is also live selling and potential live stream shopping. That must have been such an innovative way to reach a new audience.
It definitely is, and the thing that I was the most challenging for myself was I was so used to having that customer right in front of me, and I would get that response from the customer and be able to show the client the color and live, and this was a situation where and learning the live selling experience is all about, like you said, getting them to feel the feel and experience the product and see the colors, how you're explaining it, making it personal, having it in the client's world, the people, the live selling situation, and making it real to them.
What would you say as somebody who is used to being literally front facing, face to face, seeing the whites of someone's
Mhm.
eyes, right? Being able to anticipate or actually hear their questions. What were some of the biggest learnings for you when you started to sell through the screen?
I think it was just to keep that conversation going, to always, anticipate the next thing that you were going to say because there really isn't a response. So you have to keep that conversation going and really talk about all of the points that you want to get through, the most important points, and not, and keep the conversation moving where you don't get stuck in one area or in your mind you're kind of going through, oh, but I didn't say this and I didn't say that. In live selling, nobody really knows what you were supposed to say and what you weren't supposed to say, and I think that was the biggest challenge for me was getting away from what was going on inside my head while I was live selling to just do it and talk about the product and work harder each time you do it, you just gain experience.
And it's interesting because as somebody like I would imagine
Mhm.
you are as a essentially also a public speaker. I mean, you would be on
Mhm.
stages and at conventions and
Yep.
typically you would have a I'm going to call it a run of show, a script, right? If you're speaking, you would have a general idea of how you're going to get from message A to message Z, right? But when you're in a live scenario, there are other factors. You might be responding to a question, or in the case of TV home shopping, the host might switch the order a bit based on momentum that is being built. And so the idea that you have to pivot becomes very important. But I think without question, the only reason, Janet, that I believe you can do that comfortably and still sell effectively is by knowing your product inside and out. Now, this would not be a far stretch for somebody like you who is a national educator as well, because you would have to be so well informed beyond the normal person about each and every product.
I think that that's exactly relevant. You need to know your product inside and out because when you're live selling, sometimes, the butterflies happen or, you're smiling, but you're thinking, oh, I can't quite remember, this or that. It's so important to know your product in and out. And before I prepare for any live selling experience, I make notes. I make little notes on the products of my selling points that I want to address, and I keep it simple. And here's how I've evolved from when I first started. I used to write out an entire script, like like a host is going to say this, or my colleague on stage is going to say this in a live selling situation, and then I'm going to say this. And then what would happen is if it deviated from that, it would kind of completely throw me off. So in order to literally go with the flow, Dawn, it was best for me just to have my selling points, that things that I knew that this is what I really wanted to get across to my viewers, to people who were listening to me. And everything else was just going to be fun and conversation back and forth. And it was going to be really organic and it was just going to be really, really just like very simple.
Yeah, the idea is you want to know where your destination is. So, I mean, imagine before GPS was around, and I know there's people listening or watching that are thinking, "What? GPS never used to be around." Kids, we used to use maps. Oh my gosh, and how we even managed to get anywhere is amazing to me, but it's like if you had this long established route and the only route you've ever been on is whatever your route is to whatever destination. Now, what if there's a construction sign that says roads closed? Oh my gosh, the road is closed. What are we gonna do? If you are so set on that only that one way to get there, you 100% you're not gonna move anywhere. You're gonna have fear, you're going to be nervous, and you're going to fall apart. But if when you are constantly, making your way from point A to point B, periodically you take a detour. Let's figure out let's fly blind a little here. Let's figure out how we're going to get from point A to point B based on common sense, based on all sorts of things. Well, now you become able to pivot more. And I think that's always the key, Janet. You have to know, yes, where your destination is. We want to take a customer through a pathway of purchase. But sometimes you're gonna turn away a little bit and you're gonna pause. And sometimes you're gonna skip over a step because it might not be necessary based on the audience. So I think that's really key. And Janet, I want to really also highlight that you were really naturally placed into the expertise of a live selling beauty talent because that is your expertise.
Mhm.
If you weren't selling beauty, because now you've got the selling bug in you, what would you have been interested in being an ambassador for in the live selling realm?
Well, I think now that I'm going to say like literally beauty under my belt, like I feel like I was naturally curated for the beauty role. Fashion would be fun for me. I could, definitely sell anything because I've come to the conclusion that once you're comfortable and once you're educated in what you're speaking about, that is the key. So if I had time to do my research on something else that I was selling and I had my points that I needed to make, I had, something to back it up with, I had proof of what I was talking about, then I would be really, really confident in selling other things. And that just comes down to preparation and knowing your stuff.
And that's exactly what I teach in my live selling course. And so you talk about proof and you talk about preparation and we talk about all the things that are required to not only make a sale, but then now make a sale through the screen. So, Janet, when we sell in TV home shopping, which for anyone listening or watching, That's really sort of what live stream shopping is really based off of. It's just different technology and maybe a different voicing, and everybody's going to have their own way to do it. But you have to also get used, Janet, to saying the same thing, not only many times, but in many different ways, don't you?
Yes, you do. And it's just being able, like you said, to say things over and over again in a different way to really get across the points of the product that you want to make. What this is going to bring to the customer once they get it home, how they experience it, what it's going to mean to them. And I think one way that I really try to incorporate in when I'm talking about every product is how I use it each and every day. And for me, of course, it's beauty products or it's skincare products, but really making it personal. So someone else can look at me and say, you know what? I think I see exactly what she's trying to do with that product, and I could see myself using that or wearing that color, or she maybe makes it, brings something to light about herself, like I've got, fine lines here, and talks about a certain product that's really going to make it diminish. Things like that really make it personal to people that are viewing, and I think that makes you, again, more personal.
And relatable for sure. And
Mhm.
I think as well with every product, we're selling a product, but we're really selling a result. Product is just something that can get us there. And so, Janet, you talk about, okay, fine. Maybe it's fine lines and wrinkles you want to get rid of, but we can go deeper than that, right? We can go, what do we want to feel like? What do we want to accomplish short term and long term? And how might any of these products help us do this? So we could literally be talking about a specific shade of lipstick that can give you the confidence to go and get a job.
That's what I truly believe, and that's why I know I'm so curated for beauty, because it's not just about a color. It's about putting that color on and looking and feeling fabulous each and every day and living your best self. I mean, that's what I like to talk about when I'm talking about products, skincare. I mean, fine lines and wrinkles, let's be honest, we're never going to take them away. We can diminish them, and we can, use products that are going to help fight pro-aging, and that's the approach that I like to take, that pro-aging approach. But it's how I feel at the end of every day when I'm using these products. That's how I want to really showcase when I'm live selling, the feeling that you get, and that, your results, of course, are amazing and how you look and feel, but it's all about, being your best self each and every day.
And ultimately, whatever category you're selling. So if anyone is listening and watching and going, well, I don't sell makeup, I
Mhm.
sell clothing or I sell cookware or I am selling a service. You really have to again tap into what the motivations might be of your potential customer. And I say potential because we're also hoping that you can convert and attract new customers. So think about what your customer motivations are. Think about what it will take for them to feel confident. And we know that, of course, Watier is such an iconic brand, certainly here in Canada. But I think, in particular, Janet, for anyone that's shopping on e-commerce, this is the difference, right? You can go to a .com even with an established
Mhm.
brand like Watche, and there will be a certain demographic that does not feel confident buying online. They're still going to insist whipping into the Shoppers Drug Mart or whatever other store that you can pick up Watche at. And then there's going to be people that go, but I like the convenience of online shopping. So I still don't know, what is that color of lipstick going to look like, or what is that texture? This is where the person who is the ambassador on the screen becomes so critical to be able to navigate that journey, again, that pathway to purchase. When you look at the technology that's out there and you're thinking about what your experience has been, Janet, in the world of TV home shopping, and now you're looking at the technology of TikTok Shop, for instance, or the many shopping platforms, what do you see as that future opportunity for any small retailers that might be out there looking to navigate the unique ways to reach their new audience?
I just think it's so important to actually do it. Get on a platform and do it because you're making yourself more personable. You're making yourself known. You're getting your face out there. You are being strategic with your brand, your business, and like your strategy. I think that is where you just have to jump in with both feet. And of course, do your homework and make sure you're ready to go. You don't want to just all of a sudden go live and you haven't done your homework. You and I know, Dawn, that this is many conversations we've had about this, but I think that it's just going for it and doing it. It's not going to be perfect the first time, but there's always next time. And if I look back to the first time I started in home shopping, the first social media live I did, the very first time that I did a live experience, I was like, oh, I could have done this, this, and this differently. But the best thing is, I've always had the opportunity to do it again and build on those skills because you can just always get better and better. That's just what it's about. Just you got to do it.
And you have to leap. You have to just go ahead and go live and then take every opportunity to improve the performance before. And let me tell you, after 25 years of being on TV, I still watch portions of every single episode or live stream that I've done. I don't sit there and watch myself for hours on end, but I like to make sure that I am still got the finger on the pulse. I still like to make sure that I'm impactful in all the ways that are impactful. And that's not just about making the sale. That's in the relatability, it's in my communication skills. It could be something as simple as, am I talking too fast? Because when you watch yourself as an outside looking in, isn't it interesting, Janet, that all the things that you thought you were doing and the way it would be interpreted, sometimes you don't realize how off the mark you are until you watch yourself like a viewer. It could be something as simple as you thought you were holding your product in the right space and that your hand was still, and meanwhile, it's way over here, and you just until you watch it as an outsider, you don't realize the improvements that you can make to be so much better.
You're right. And just as a little side note, my favorite person who views me is always my family members. And my dad tapes every show that I'm ever on. So I always can watch the PVR of my show. And that's what I do. I watch every single show that I do live to learn from that past experience because you're right. You will notice things that you do, and usually it's out of nerves and not being very comfortable in that situation. And there was some things that I saw that I do. Sometimes, like you can see, I'm moving my hands around. I talk too much with my hands, and it's very expressive. If you can find a way to, hold your hands in a certain position. Some people fiddle with, their adjusting their wardrobe because they see themselves in the camera, or they play with their hair or different things like that, just little things out of nervousness that a lot of people do, and that's just the nerves talking. And the more that you watch yourself, it's the little keys and cues that you pick up about little things that you do, and you really, really grab hold of those so that next time it's even better. And that's what I say. I watch myself so that I can learn. And there's nothing more difficult, as you know, Dawn, than watching yourself because you say to yourself, why did I say that? Did I just trip over that word? Did I say how many different times? I think I just said amazing like 6 times. Like you'll realize that sometimes there's a certain word that you use that you will overuse. And because now it's in your vocabulary, that's another thing that I did, Dawn, before when I'm always prepping. I always, write out a list of descriptive words for the product that I'm describing and talking about because I don't want to say beautiful 6 times. I don't want to say amazing. I don't want to say gorgeous. I really want to work on my, vocabulary to make sure I'm expressive and that it's not repetitive. And I think those are all the things that you learn by watching yourself over and over again.
And with your particular niche, so beauty, and there may
Mhm,
be makeup artists that are watching right now. There might be employees that work for a beauty brand that want to bring additional value to their employer. This is a great way to set yourself apart as a sales rep or as an ambassador or an influencer is by getting involved in live selling. But one of the most critical things in particular with moving and connecting through the screen
mhm,
and with your industry in particular, Janet, is the demonstrations. So maybe, I mean, you're used to doing and talking at the same time, but I always said that about chefs as well. And yet I do a lot of media training with chefs because although in the kitchen, they can whisk and they can do orders and they can ask the sous to do this and call for the expediter. But for some reason on television, it is like little bit of deer in the headlight. They're fine to talk or do, but usually not at the same time. So, this is an important element, though, of selling through the screen, particularly with experience based products like makeup.
yes. So what you have to realize is if I'm live selling through my computer, of course, you want to make sure you're with your screen that you know how close you can go to your webcam so that your hand stays in focus. You want to know when you're doing live selling, if it's on television, you want to really, as we know, hold the shot so that there's a chance that someone can come close and really get that beautiful shot to really showcase the product. You want to make sure when you're doing a demo that you're having that camera on you and that if you're doing it from your own screen, that you're coming in close to be able to hold there and let that camera focus so that the person viewing you can really see up close and personal what exactly you're trying to showcase. All of these things are so important, and they are really just hours of watching people with live selling, watching different people. And I can honestly say that I think that my success, and if you have seen, some of my live selling and can speak to that, will say that my skill level has come from watching many different people live sell, and I always take the very best from the best of what they do really well, and then I make it Janet Entwistle. I put my own twist on it. I'm not, all the hosts that I work with, or, I'm not the brand ambassador from another brand. I work for an incredible brand, a fabulous brand, and I believe in what I sell. And I think that's very important too. So that authenticity comes across, that passion, the motivation for the products that you're selling, the brand that you represent. And I think that's when, Dawn, it becomes very authentic, and the people watching you know that you are speaking from the heart, because I think it's very easy to tell the difference when watching a lot of live selling. When I've done my research, that's the point of difference that I would like to think that I bring. Every time I represent Lise Watier, that I bring that passion, that motivation, and really the true joy of the products that I'm selling.
Well, and in my HSH method live selling course, there's a formula and it goes authenticity plus, equals trust equals sales. And that is the fact. And within that, there are, 10 sort of characteristics of authentic people. And there are different ways to build that trust. But ultimately, product knowledge comes into play there. The fact that you believe in the brand, the passion for the brand. And then in the case of teaching someone how to do makeup, I mean, you don't have to be a professional makeup artist to teach somebody to do makeup. But the fact that you are, Janet, makes you also extra interesting to listen to because people always want to learn from a professional. And I think, these are all of the elements of success that you've been able to bring to the table, and on top of it be able to communicate on the screen. And I love that sort of showcased understanding that you have to understand the space that you're working with and to be able to make it so that the customer who is watching through the screen almost feels like they're there. And you know, I can say this for you. You are exactly the person off camera as you are on, which means you're being yourself. And that's why having your own voice within your sales techniques, that's so critical because you can't be Dawn. And why would you want to be
No,
Dawn? You have to be you because there's going to be people that are drawn to you and there's people that are drawn to Dawn and different reasons. And we could literally be selling the same product, Janet.
we could be. We definitely could be. And I think that's when you have two different people that come together in that setting, it is very interesting and it brings different elements to the sale of that specific product. But, you know, when I first watched back my very first live selling experiences, I thought, wow, Janet, you're really stiff. Like you don't even really want to move. You just want to stand right there because you know you're in shot. And what if I move and I'm slightly out of focus or I'm not like in the center? You know what? I think it's better just to move and to look like you're comfortable in your space. And I think that's the biggest feedback I got when I first started was people who knew me knew that you're right. Off camera, I'm really similar to how I am right now. And I needed to bring that fun to the live shopping experience. I want to talk to the customer through the screen. I want to connect with whoever it is watching me at home. And it might be just asking a question, knowing that I'm not going to get an answer in return, but you know, just to look into the camera and say, do you want to look and feel fabulous each and every day? You know what? I've got you. I put these kits together that are specifically curated for you so that I'm making it easy for you. It's just talking to your listener and who you're trying to relate to because he or she's out there. It's just a matter of, you know, connecting with them.
And it's so important what you were just saying that I put this together for you. I created this for you because when people are watching, in particular with their device, right? It's such an intimate experience because you are literally close to them and they are hearing you clearly and they're seeing you clearly. And when you look into that camera, they're seeing you look into their eyes. And
Yes.
so it's really a unique way to connect and engage with an audience. And I think the idea too, and you've done this really well with the Watier brand, is you've brought that store experience. So maybe you're used to going to, again, Shoppers, for instance, and getting one of
Mhm.
the um, people that work there, the wonderful ambassadors that work there, doing a makeup demo on you. Well, of course, Janet can't do a makeup demo on you through the screen, but Janet, you're able to replicate almost like that consultation experience, which I think is why live selling is it will be the thing that sustains a lot of brands long after the brick and mortar is gone.
I could not agree with you more. Like you, that's exactly so important because it is just such a way to relate. Everything's digital now. Everything is all about live experiences. Social media platforms are, you know, growing. And I mean, there's always something new, something new coming along that I haven't even experienced yet. But you're right about looking into that camera because if you're looking to get into a live selling experience, your customers out there and you have to make that eye contact. That was one of the first things watching myself back when I was first, you know, learning about live selling was I was afraid to look directly into that camera. But I'm long past that now because, you know, I want to make it an experience that I'm talking to whoever it is at home and that they can, you know, get to know me a little bit better and have a little bit of fun with me and, you know, learn about some products along the way. And that's what it's all about. Just having a fun with the products that you're live shopping about.
So a lot of luxury brands I mean, we're talking in general about the one to many experience, one person presenting to many. We don't know
Mhm.
how many that are watching or listening. It's like that, right? But a lot of luxury brands, they incorporate live selling and have for years in one-to-one consultations. So Gucci is one that does that. I'll put that front of mind is they would have a customer that might be anywhere in the world or across the city that doesn't feel like leaving, right? And we're talking luxury market. So catering that sales experience, it would be like a FaceTime or a Skype. I can see opportunities in the beauty industry to have personal consultations. I mean, technology is allowed with apps and everything to, okay, what does this lipstick look like on someone with my skin tone? Well, there's apps for that now. But I can see with premium clients, or anybody that really wants that in-store experience that can't make it in store for whatever physical, mental reason, whatever. I can see the live selling skills being very relevant in a one-to-one consultation happening virtually.
Absolutely, and we did dive into that a little bit as a brand back during, the COVID experience where we did do those one-on-one virtual consultations, and the customers did definitely love it. I mean, I'm live selling every week, usually virtually, where it's a situation where it might be a store is, Skyping me in through a platform, and I'm talking to a group of women, maybe a few provinces over, and we're just talking beauty and I'm talking product, and it just makes it a little bit more relatable that, now we've got a beauty expert, someone who is really knows the product, can talk to everyone, and I can answer all of those questions that, you might be afraid to ask in a giant room full of people. But when there's just a handful of people sitting around to have that consultation, it makes it safe and you can have fun with the conversation as well.
And you can do that with your vendor partners or your merchandisers for sure. But I think in this space for anyone watching or listening, whether you're in the beauty industry or anything where you're giving some sort of tutorials, I mean, you've done master classes. And I could see as another opportunity to connect with an audience, having something like okay, how to change your makeup look from day to night. And then you've got, national artist Janet Entwistle, or any of you watching, maybe you're an artist and you're thinking, "Oh, that sounds like a fun event." Sure is, right? But why miss on the opportunity as well to maybe make some sales? I mean, this is like way back in the day. This is what you did. You had somebody come in, you learned some things, and then, oh, by the way, here's your order sheet. You're doing it virtually now, and so you're doing it virtually and with live selling skills where maybe you've got an affiliate link for something. Maybe you are the owner of a product and now you can, because you've taught people the skills and you're a credible and likable source, why not make a few sales? And so I think there are endless opportunities in this space for individuals and brands. Janet.
Yes, absolutely. It's just trying it to see what works. That's the thing. Everybody will oftentimes say, well, what if we tried this or what if we did that? You have to try it. And trust me, I've made a lot of mistakes. There's been times I thought, okay, let's try this. It's going to be amazing. And it flopped. But what I learned from that failure, and it pushed me to have even more success in something else that I tried. So I think that the biggest area of opportunity I can give is just to get doing it and to rely on the resources you have through, different people who this is their area of expertise, like yourself, Dawn, because I mean, I've learned so much from you watching you and experiencing, the live selling opportunity with you, and it's just watching and grooming your expertise and really knowing, where you're going to find yourself, your niche, what's going to work for you, what the perfect environment is, and just moving with that. If you are always going to stay on that hamster wheel and do the same thing over and over again, you can expect the same results. But if you take a chance, what do you have to lose? You might do something amazing.
And I have the faith that you would, and so what you're saying, Janet, and I completely agree, because when you look to the experts, it can save you so much time and money. For instance, "Hey, Dawn, I wanna I'm not I'm looking in the mirror. Ooh, I'm gonna figure out how to do a smoky eye." Okay, well, I can try to figure it out, or I can watch someone teach me, and then I can practice it. So now I've taken out all the steps of me, A, researching what is a smoky eye, B, figuring out all the other stuff. So you can sit there and watch an expert. And so it's the same thing with me, right? I've got so much expertise in this space. And so if you're somebody that goes, well, I'm comfortable on camera, but I need to learn like the framework of a show, or I need to know the tech setup or whatever. Look to whatever resources are going to give you the most efficient answer. So you can Google lots of stuff for sure. That takes a lot of time. If you've got time, go for it. If you can watch a tutorial or a video, do that. Do whatever it is to help you get to the point where now you're practicing and honing your skill, but not necessarily sourcing out all the information that people that have done it, like Janet in makeup and me in live selling, that can tell you and I can show you, and then you can start with an advantage. And that's really what we're talking about. And it's why I created this podcast, is so that we can educate people and make it approachable, Janet. So thank you so much for sharing your expertise. And you are a master at the definitely the on-camera experience from an education standpoint. And yes, as live selling talent with Watier. If anyone wants to get a hold of you, should they follow you on social media? Where's the best place?
Social media would be the best. My, social media is just my name. How original is Janet Entwistle? So that would be the best place to connect, of course, on LinkedIn as well.
Amazing. The information is there. And of course, as always, please subscribe to this channel, like and comment. It really helps the algorithm. It's not about my ego, it's about helping the algorithm so more people can see and experience this incredible live selling space through experts like Janet. Thank you so much, Janet.
Thank you, Dawn.